Okay, we're back, and our first guest this morning is George Smith, and he's an author, and he's done a book about somebody very interesting and important, and I want to hear about this. Good morning. How are you?
Carol, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
Cold hands. That's nice to
Warm
have
heart,
you.
cold hands.
Yeah, that's important. So I know that you have written a book, and could you tell me who this famous person is of beautiful Fresno and this whole area?
It's Clement Renzi, and he has statues all over California, or he has, and I really I really like his style is what it boils down to. And so I decided to photograph all of his works.
Oh my gosh. That's a big job when he had done so many.
Yes, he's done about 65 of them. So, and we visited every one of them that was listed in the catalog. So.
So what made you think you wanted to write a book about Renzi?
Oh, it started about 3 years ago. I had retired and I was looking for a project, and photography had always been my hobby, and I wanted to see if I could do an important project, and Renzi is important. What happened was I went down on the mall and I photographed a lot of different statues. I went over to the library, and right in front of the library is one of his statues. It's the new book, it's called. And I thought, well, this is kind of neat. And so I went into the library, went up to the reference desk, and asked them, okay, what do you have on as far as books on Renzi? And the person behind the counter went and checked, came back and said, there are no books on Renzi.
Oh my gosh.
There are a few articles, but nothing as far as a collection of his works. So at that time I went, that's kind of interesting. What I did was I went home and got on the computer and went over to the internet and Googled it. And what came up was Jennifer Renzi is a daughter of Clement Renzi, and she had put a page in there, and it listed all of Clement's works as far as the name and as far as the address, but there were no pictures.
My gosh, you fell right into that. That's fantastic.
So I decided, I took a look at the list, let's put it that way, and found that all of them were in California. There were some that were up near San Francisco, and there was the furthest one south was actually La Jolla, which is sort of by San Diego. So they were all reasonably close. I didn't have to travel throughout the country, just through California. And so I thought, well, if there's 65 of them, I'll bet I can do 2 a day and get it done in about 60 days.
Oh my gosh.
Well, after about 1 week, I found out, no, you can't do that. You have to do a lot of planning beforehand. And so what happened was it took a full year before I actually got all of the different statues recorded.
Well, yeah, I would think it would take even longer than that. My gosh. I think you're a speedy.
Well, one of the problems is that the statues had been there for so long. He worked from about 1962 through 2009, and a lot of his works had been sold. And because usually it was a bank that had commissioned him. And what happened was they had moved them to different locations. So we had to do a lot of prep work before we could even go out and photograph.
Oh my gosh, and this is the result. Look at this. Is that fantastically beautiful? I mean, it's not just a bunch of statues stuck together. This is an artistic view of his work.
What we did was 1 page for each one, and we put it in chronological order so that...
Oh, how wonderful. Look at this, each one of them.
And we put them by date, so it was...
Well, I'm telling you, you must have had some help with that, 'cause that's a lot of work.
Well, my wife Janet was actually the riding shotgun, I would say. And
Oh,
there were a couple of times where we would go out. There was one down in Visalia especially. It was the three musicians, and it was supposed to be in front of a bank. And we went to the bank, and it wasn't there. And we couldn't figure out what to do. And then Janet came up with the idea of calling up, I believe it was the Tulare County Arts Council, thank you. And and they actually knew where it was. It was on Mooney and Whitedale. And
my
it's a
gosh.
huge intersection. We'd actually driven by it. It was kind of interesting because it was on the far side, and we had driven in through the other way, and we actually did find it that way. But that was one way. Another way we found a lot of the statues was through not Google Earth. Google Earth?
Yes.
Google Earth, thank you. It was through Google Earth. And what we would do is we would zoom in on the address where it was supposed to be, and if it was outside, you could actually see it. So you wouldn't have to try and guess, and if you went there, it was there. And that worked about half a dozen times. So
Oh, gosh, it's exciting because, I don't think everybody in this area really knows that they have a sculpture of their own. I mean, a great artist that's right from here,
yeah.
and did the type of thing that came in our valley.
Yeah, I learned a lot about him just from doing research. I never got to meet him, unfortunately, but he actually had a house in Fresno, and in the backyard he had a studio. But not only did he have a studio, he also built a kiln right next to it, and he did all the firings of the terracottas. And also I found out that he used the clay from Fresno. It wasn't imported from any place else. He actually used the material around here.
Oh, I had no idea. This is a really homespun artist. And so what I know that you want to take the pictures, but how did you ever get involved in such a beautiful book?
Well, as far as the photographs being a little bit different than normal, actually, these days with computers you can do practically anything. And basically what I did was I put it in Photoshop and manipulated it a little bit. What I tried to do is just enhance it. I didn't try to put anything that wasn't there. Whatever was there, I would try to bring out the best qualities of it. And on every page there is a regular photograph, the standard color, and then there's also the enhanced. And
oh, I see. Like this would be the regular
yes,
one?
that's a regular one there, and all of these other ones are slightly enhanced. They're not. We didn't try to manipulate it too much. We didn't put anything in there that wasn't already there.
Oh no, they're absolutely beautiful. I like that.
Thank you. That's very kind.
The enhancement is not too much.
It's not overpowering.
No, it's not overpowering. It's just right. Oh gosh, didn't know he did so many things. I'd had the opportunity once to meet him. I was taking a couple of voice lessons from his wife.
Dorothy? Yeah.
Yes, Dorothy. Okay. And so I took one of my sculptures in that I had done in high school. And I said it was still hadn't been fired or anything. It was just there. I'd carried it around for years and hadn't broken. So I said, could I get this bronzed? And he said, okay, I'll find out for it. And he had it bronzed for me.
Really? Okay.
Yes, I was so thrilled about that. But the minute I heard his name this morning, I said, oh my gosh, is that the Renzi that I knew? Oh, this is exciting.
Yeah.
And where can people get this book?
Oh, okay. We've created a website. It's called renzibook.com. So, but I don't want the people to just think that that's you only go there just to order a book. There are also pictures in there. There's also a blog. What we've found recently is that a lot of Renzi's work, especially the medium-sized ones. He actually sold them to private individuals.
Oh.
And what's happened is that over the years, some of them, their kids have inherited them. They don't really know what to do with them, so they will actually gift them. There's one out at Pacific University that I know of. Also, the Fresno Art Center has 2 more that actually were in private hands, but now they're back in the public domain.
Oh,
I
good.
didn't include them in these because they weren't originally. All of the ones in here are actually public works. In other words, they're on public land. They're accessible by any individual who wants to go see them.
Oh, but he did such a beautiful job on faces, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Gosh,
I
that's
liked his style. That's why I took his pictures. So.
Well, yeah, and I'm just so glad that you took up this process, because you've done a beautiful job of it, and it's needed. It's needed. People have to learn about this wonderful sculpture that was right in our territory, and it's a great honor that we had him here.
I think he brings joy. When I look at his stuff, it's the common man, and that's what I really liked about it too. Was it wasn't overly fancy. It wasn't anything you couldn't really relate to. So.
No, of course, there are people that they have a whimsical quality,
yes, very much
but
so.
they're real people, you know. Oh, I just love this book so much, and it's an easy thing to find. Say it one more time. RenziBook.com.
And we wanted to make it as easy as we could. And so.
I don't think it could be much easier to get than that, so you've got to look this up, because it's really a really beautiful book, and I'm so glad you did it.
Well,
and I'm so glad you came in.
Carol, thank you for having me.
Yes, and please come in again when you find another fantastic artist.
When we do an update, how's that?
Okay, that'll be wonderful. That'll be a little sooner, probably.
Yes, it will be. So.
Okay, thank you so much, George. And I know your host over there, your beautiful wife,
yeah.
that helped you with your...
Yes, she is.
Thank you so much coming in, both you guys.
Okay.
And I'll see you again.
Okay.
We'll be right back. We came back we forgot something that's very important, so I'm going to have George tell you about it.
Okay. On the 20th of April at 2 o'clock in the main library, we actually are going to end up where we started. When we started, we were at the reference desk finding out about him. Well, on the 20th of April, we're going to give a presentation about Renzi and his statues, and it will be at the reference desk. So if you're available, please stop by. Parking's free it's going to be a Saturday, so parking's free, and no charge for the lecture that I'm going to give. So.
Oh, I'm so excited about that. I'm glad we didn't miss that.
Well, thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
it. So
come back.
we will.
Okay. We'll be right back.